Hey you guys, Dani here, and welcome to May wrap up in the middle of June. I'm super late on this. I've been having a lot of crazy things going on. My whole first week of June just went into the freaking wind. So here we are. We're still going to be talking about this. So let's start. I'm going to dive right in. May was pretty productive. In some ways, and not so productive in other ways. So let's kind of talk about it. So let's jump in with tarot. So what did we do in May? In May, we saw things that I don't have around my desk. BRB. I'm back. Okay, so I don't quite remember if the Mesquite Tarot, I think I filmed it in May. I don't know if this was part of it, but I'm just going to say it is because I can't remember. So we have the Mesquite Tarot. I think I did a walkthrough with that at the beginning of May. Maybe it was the end of whatever. The Mesquite Tarot was on one of them. Then when I did a live, we talked about the Oracle of Oddities. I know we did the Wonderland Tarot, the Art of Life, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't remember if the Oracle of Oddities was the first one, or it was just something that I was doing that was fun with the lives, or if it was the Mesquite, so whatever. But then our last one was the Oracle of Mystical Moments. So, as we all know, I don't really utilize the Wonderland Tarot all that much. It's kind of like a novelty deck for me. But I have to say, out of these, my favorites, of course, the Mesquite Tarot and the Oracle of Mystical Moments. I really love this deck. I really like it as a companion to my tarot because I feel like it always pops out that extra layer that you need. It's like one of those things where, like, you can get a great reading, but like you pull that card and it was just like, oh, you know. So I love this deck. Matter of fact, I used it for a few clients this past month, and no complaints. No complaints. Even with the ones that are a bit is obtuse the word I'm looking for? Vague. Okay? Even the ones that are vague, that are just like Mr. Miller's daughter, like, that's not really one, but you know what I mean. Even those, like, there's still enough to pull that intuitive hit and be like, yes. So A+ for that. So that's where we went with tarot, maybe even a little extra there. So tarot went well. However, I will say I spent most of my time, my dailies were not where they needed to be at all. I really did maybe 2 or 3 spreads for myself during the month, a handful of personal reads. And the reason for that is because I started diving so deep into creating my deck. And it's like I almost felt like I was like immersed in each card as I went, because what I've done is I've grabbed a little notebook, a little bullet journal, $5. I didn't need a fancy one. I didn't need crazy thick pages. This is literally just to jot down notes in, kind of go into, well, I'll show you. So each one, and I started backwards for those of you who don't know. I started with the world, so we have the elemental sign, the astrological sign, and then I sit with books upon books. I think this is, okay, yeah. I filmed a video for my Patreon, and I talked about all this, but I was like having a brain fart, like, did I talk to you guys about this? No, I don't think so. So, anyway, I grab a whole bunch of books, and I kind of do a refresher course in each card as I go. So when it came to tarot, like, I spent a lot of time in tarot study this month, well, last month in May. So like, even though I wasn't pulling cards for myself, I still was really steeped in this world. So again, I would come in, I would read a bunch of stuff, and then I would kind of jot down not only my personal, like, things like, oh, like an open opportunity, a choice. Like, those are the keywords that always pop into my head when I see a card. I always put those down, and then I kind of read through each one of my books. There's about 6 of them I go through, and I'm like, yes, I like this. I don't really, you know, resonate with that. And I kind of just go through and create a list of my favorite keywords and phrases. I even quote the book sometimes. So like for the world, that my tarot and astrology book says, we are made of energy, and energy is never created or destroyed. It is just transformed. And I loved that. So I jotted that down in there. And then I always leave a space here. So you can see I did that with Judgment. I left the whole space here. The sun, you get the point, the moon, boom, boom. Because what I'm going to do after, because I do this before I start a card, and then once I'm done with my majors, I'm going to sit with my pieces, with my art pieces, and then I'm going to put down my thoughts as I was creating it, what different things mean to me as far as artistically. I'll give you some examples, right? The ones that you guys have seen Judgment, right? In my other video. So one little point that I made, I have anyone that is not looking up, they have bands over their eyes, right? Like they're blind to it. They don't want to see, they don't want to acknowledge that there's work to do internally. So those kind of things are going to go in my book to create, this is kind of like the beginnings of a guidebook, right? Also the patchwork has a lot of meaning for me, like these like almost like crosshatch vibes that I have also hold another layer of meaning. And I'm just going to kind of be jotting down those things to kind of create my own guidebook as a practice of not only expanding what I know and what I attain from knowing these. I don't know if I said that right. Anyway, you get what I mean. Not only from what I know now, but what I am diving deeper into with an added layer of what my thought process was and the meanings behind that. Does that make sense? I don't know. Over-explaining all the time. Okay. So that was what I did in the tarot sphere this month. As far as for, what else do we have? I did some cool stuff in my grimoire, but I'm saving it. I'm going to do a full grimoire video, probably around the Samhain, I think I said. I think I'm going to do that then and just go like full on grimoire there. Let's go to art. Well, you know, things like that. Creativity, the creativity section. So May, I did my bullet journal for May. Put a lot of really cool stuff. My card of the month here that I was working with. We had some High Priestess vibes. These very cool things. Now I said in my June, when I made my June, I think a lot of it had to do with like the pink. Everything looked a bit too much. So I went super chill for June. I didn't want that like chaotic feel. So I have that in my books. I will share with you my poor book reading in a bit. It was bad. And then I did it. I totally did it. And I have a few friends that hate these creatures. So I pre-apologize. I'm backing up because it's big. I finished my moth this month. So this is my main acrylic piece. I had the background done. I mean, y'all have seen it in the back for ages. I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to go, you know, like kind of chill colors? Do I want to go crazy colors? Do I want to do whatever? I had it sketched out for ages. And then one weekend, it was on a Saturday, I was listening to stuff and I just I just let it come out, and it did. So I was really excited about it. We have a lot of texture in this painting. Let me turn to the side. You can see I have a lot of burlap pieces here and here as well. You probably can't really see this. There's a lot of textures under here. And then of course just my acrylics that I just kind of took some time and finished that up. So I was really excited with that. I have not decided what I want to do next. I'm sorry, I have just crazy ton of shit just popping up on my phone. So if I look distracted, I'm sorry, but my phone is distracting me. So that is what I did there. Now I will talk about, this is going to be a quick one, y'all. Before I get into my books, I will talk about a little creative haul that I got. I popped into Barnes & Noble's a couple weekends ago in May, and I was like, I want something that kind of sparks my creativity, like for when I get in a rut or when I feel like I'm too consumed, right? Because I have a tendency to do that. Like I'll get so consumed in something, and then I'm like, well, I don't even know what to do anymore because I stifle myself because I get all consumed into something. So I always like to have a different idea to kind of switch gears when I don't know where to go, or when I feel like there's something missing but I can't quite put my finger on it, and I've like sat there and looked at this for hours. Then I always like to switch gears and do something completely different. So like I'll make little notebooks, you know, I have my little notebooks right here. Matter of fact, I have things that says readings. This is for my notes when I do client readings. I decorate these. I get the plain ones so I can, you know, these are just my little side projects to like renew that creativity. So I said all of that to show this little mini haul that I got. So I grabbed I think I have another one, but I didn't grab it in May. Anyway, so I have this one. It's called Get Creative, and it's 60 exercises, activities, and prompts to stimulate the imagination. So these are just like open pages, right? Let me give you an example. They got really great quotes. It's like your workspace motto. So you design and cut out a postcard for your space that has like your motto for like when you're doing stuff. Breath work, draw your breath. I love this idea. It's just like, you know, put your pen to paper and just like, and kind of go along. And I love that because when I was in theater school, we used to do this thing. We had an open space, like a little like loft looking space in our theater building that it was all open, and each end had a door leading down to the staircase, right? So you could go from the bottom of the staircase up, over, and down. So what our teacher would have us do is we'd run up the stairs, run across, run down, and we'd do this 3 times, and then we'd fall to the floor and we'd animate our breath. So it drew me back in, and I was like, oh, I love that. So I snagged this one. Just some little fun, creative ideas to do, right? And then I got The Joy of Creativity. I just have that kind of mind that needs to be stimulated in different ways, you know what I mean? So this is like, write a story based on this picture. And of course, you can go on Pinterest. They have great ideas. But I'm like, and when I'm stuck in a space, I'm probably not going to go on Pinterest and look this up. So having this at my desk is fantastic. It's like you have this, and it says creativity is a wild mind and a disciplined eye. So then you can just kind of play around with this page, mark it up, do some crazy cool stuff. I know what it was. So I have my journal. The Kim Crayons, the creator of The Wild Unknown, I have that, which is very similar to this. It's kind of one of those spark your creativities. I also have You Are Here, which is a bit different, but it does have kind of ideas like that. It's very beautiful. I'm almost halfway through this one. I really like it. But then I have things like Wreck Your Journal And this is not a book or something like that I've had for years and years and years, and they're up way high in my bookshelves that are all around my house. But they're super high and I can't get to them, and they're mostly filled out. I got them about 8 years ago. I'm trying to think. It was when I lived in Colorado. Probably about 8 years ago. I did those, and so when I saw these two, they really sparked that for me, and I was like, I really want something that I can just pull out and do something creative and kind of reset my mind. So I thought those were fun. Then I grabbed this book, and it's called Your Mother's Story. And I got this not so much to fill it out in here, but I have these crazy cool notebooks that have kind of everything in it. Let me grab it and show you guys. Let me search. When you know how to hide stuff well from yourself. Okay, so I grabbed these a long time ago. They're a long time ago. They're called Smash journals. K and Company Smash. They're just called Smash, right? I don't know if they even make these anymore. These are upwards of 10 years old, maybe. So anyway, they're kind of like junk journals, right? So there's all different kinds of pages of just fun. Well, these are not so fun. There we go. Of like just crazy neat things. There's a lot of empty ones in this one. My other ones are not so empty. Just kind of cool pictures, like a top 10. But I have a few of these, and I have one that I started writing in for linen, kind of in lieu of a baby book. It's just kind of like thoughts that I want to tell her. I have notebooks that have things jotted down to tell her, and I was like, I'm never gonna do this because I have stuff written everywhere. So I grabbed this book, and basically it's about like giving this to your mother and having her fill it out and then giving it back to you. But I thought I would go through these because some of them are really great and kind of jot down some ideas, key points in the book, and then create something for linen. And it's got great stuff like, what is the name of your mother and father and when were they born? So talking about my parents. Describe your mom or her grandmother. Does she have any funny habits? Then it goes into like your adolescent years. What was the hardest lesson you learned as you grew up? What was your favorite fad from your generation? What fad was the most embarrassing when you look back? Did you ever skip school? Did you ever have friends your parents didn't like? Some more stuff. Was there any area of your life you neglected that you wish you hadn't? So there are like really fun things, and there are really down deep stuff, and it's just really great questions. And I was like, well, I don't know if I would ever, I don't want to do something so plain as just to write it. I kind of want to put mementos and stuff. So that's why I was like, if I get something a little bigger and kind of put my favorite things, but go through this and jot my notes down, that way I can sit with it and really go through it. I just thought it would be super fun. And another way to spark my creativity by just like going back in my memory and sharing these things honestly and fully. That way I have something to give to her one day and just be like, I made this for you. So I just thought this was really fun. It cost me like $3, $5, something like that. And I was just like, oh, I love this idea. So I think I'm going to start working on that in July, actually. Okay, now on to books. I did not do so well this month. Not that I have a goal. I don't have a goal that I'm like, I need to read 12 books. I don't do that. But like, I'm kind of bummed. I literally read 2 books. And I didn't even read them. I listened to them. I had other people read them for me. That's how terrible I was this month. June isn't going so great either. Just saying. Okay, so what did I listen to / read, right? What did someone read to me this month? Let's see. So, first, oh, look at my dirty iPad. I listened to Coraline. This is a Neil Gaiman book. And if you've seen the movie, I think they did a pretty good job of basing the movie on the book. It was very similar. I really like it. It was fun. There was nothing too deep. It was nothing too thought-provoking. I knew what was going to happen, so I wasn't like at the edge of my seat. But I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. And he read the book, and I always love his voice. I've listened to him read Neverwhere. I believe he read that one. And then Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I love. If you haven't read that book, you need to read it. And, oh, I'll talk about that later. Shh. Okay. Another one that I listened to, The Hidden Life of Trees. This was really interesting. At first I was like, I don't know. Because it was kind of textbookish in some sense of the word. Like, in a way it was kind of a story about the trees, but in another way it was very textbook-ish. But I think this guy is like a scientist. I know he does stuff with trees, obviously. So, I mean, don't expect a story, but he does explain really well and talks about just some interesting things about trees, in a way that almost personifies them, right? How they communicate with each other, how they have a network, kind of like an internet, if you will, or like a phone system, because they speak to each other in so many different ways. It could be like smells, it could be, you know, hormones, it could be blooming of flowers, electrical pulses through their roots, things like that. But I will say one of the most horrifying things that I read in here, or that I heard, you know, I say read. I read it vicariously through someone else. There's this part where he was like, trees scream when they don't have enough water. When they're going through a drought, they scream. And I was like, that's horrible. Like, I don't know why. It just like shook me to my core. I ran around my house and I made sure all of my plants had adequate amount of water. It horrified me, and I don't know what it is. I've been reading shit about death for like 6 months, and knowing that trees and plants can scream when they don't have enough water shook me, y'all. Shook me. Ridiculous, I know. But it did. So anyway, it was a really great book. The way that it was written, I'll just say was okay. It wasn't impossible to follow along with, but there were some pieces where I just kind of nodded off. I was like, meh, you know? It definitely puts a different perspective on the way that you think about trees. Like now when I see a tree alone by itself, I always think like, they have no one to talk to. They're all alone. They can't reach out. It's awful. Because they talk about how when you cut off a tree, like not cut it off, but like leave it alone, or like plant it alone where there's no other trees near them that they can like communicate with, that it's almost like someone being blind and deaf. Because there's no one to talk to, there's no one to listen to in their own way. You know what I mean? They're just kind of cut off from everything, and they're just like a standalone. It's like a lonely life, and it's just like, never plant a tree by itself. Just don't do it. It's heartbreaking. But it was filled with like little things that were just so interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like how, you know, people often like, oh, you got to cut the other trees so it'll thrive. But at the same at the same time, they help each other out. They grow slowly because they're being taught different things. So I have to say, in general, this was a very here we go. But yes, this was a very it was very interesting, but it wasn't super fun in the way that having a story is. So that is that. Of course, what I spent most of my time doing, again, is listening to My Favorite Murder. I listen to it every day, 1 to 2 episodes a day. There's this weird thing within me, like, even though I'm like, there are so many, like, I'm not gonna catch up anytime soon. There's no need to binge this. There's no need to, like, rush towards the finish line. But I just can't help myself. Knowing that there's more that I could be listening to, like, I fill my time listening to it instead of, you know, reading and doing other things. So I've been engulfed in murder and weird shit yet again this month. So don't be surprised if I talk again in June's wrap up about how I mostly listen to My Favorite Murder. Y'all, I'm gonna do it until I can catch up. It's it's just an obsession. Like, I have to see it. But I want to talk about things that I'm going to be doing and watching and stuff in June because I'm really excited about it. So I have a list of, like, TV shows because I usually don't watch much TV. That's kind of something that I do late at night by myself. Mostly when my house is asleep, I'll put on my stuff because nobody's interested in that but me. But I have a few things on my list, but right now, speaking of Neil Gaiman, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, Good Omens came out on the 31st of May, and I've already watched the first episode. I'm chugging along. Again, if I want to actually watch this, my house is way chaotic, so I pick and choose so I can really absorb this. But I read Good Omens, which is by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett? I don't know. Terry. Neil and Terry. I read Good Omens when I was in high school. I think it was like a junior or a senior in high school, and I read it, and I just thought it was so funny. And I absolutely love the story. But seeing it now as this series that Amazon Prime has put out, they have David Tennant in there, and I'm loving it so far. I really hope that they do a good job because thus far, everything flows well. I'm seeing things that I remember and that I really wanted to see come to life. So I'm really excited about that. So I am watching that. I'm hoping to binge it as soon as I can, as soon as I get a moment alone. What else? Like I said, I'm probably gonna listen to My Favorite Murder a lot. Oh, I got Anthony Dawn's new book, Your Tarot Court, I believe it's called. It's in the other room, so I'm sorry if that's wrong. I'll make sure to put a link to that below. I'm reading that this month. I've already started that. What else? What else? Oh, I got something new. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of this. I don't have it right here. I'm going to have to do the regular cards themselves. Let me snatch it. I got the 2nd edition Mary L, so you can expect that. And I also got Revival Art Tarot. I am in love. My Mary L, well, you'll see in the walkthrough. I'm probably gonna do that right now after I'm done doing this. Did not come in so great. Just like a lot of people. But anyway, those for sure are on my main list to work with and do walkthroughs with in June. What else? I don't have a new canvas piece that I'm working on just yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do there, but my main focus this month is my tarot deck. So just a little sneak peek. I have my tower coming soon. I have my star completed, and then I have the devil, temperance, all printed out and ready to go. So I'm trying to keep myself on task and do a minimum of 3 a week. I recently had my printer completely shit out on me yesterday, day before yesterday. So I'm trying to get that situation taken care of. Whole ordeal. You don't want to know about that. Anyway, but yeah, my husband is graduating in June. Yay! And I will also be participating in a Cuppa Ketchup and Cards with Simon on the 15th. So I'm really pumped about that. Then, are you ready? 3 fat readers, June 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is, let's see, 12 p.m., so noon Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be doing our next live. I'm so excited. For those of you who don't know, I always link it in the cards and stuff at the end, but then I'll also put the description below. For 3 fat readers, we're doing our next live. We are creating a tag, which is How I Tarot. So we're coming up with some questions to kind of grill each other that you guys can also answer. So I'm really pumped to see how they answer these questions and how you guys will answer those questions. So I'm really excited for our next 3 fat readers. Be sure to join us. Anyway, you guys, thanks for hanging out with me, talking about May. It ended up being longer than I thought. But you know how it goes. Anyway, I will see you guys very soon. If you're looking for me, all of my links are below. You can go email, Instagram, Etsy, where you can also book a personal reading. We have Patreon, 3 fat readers, all the things below in the description. So make sure you check those out. Like and subscribe if you so choose to, and I will see you guys very soon. Sending you all my love. Mwah! Later, Gators.